Hi Taurus, welcome to your Siren Song reading. If this is your first Siren Song reading, let me just explain real quick. So the first verse, 4 lines with clarifiers, then the chorus, and then the second verse, 4 lines with clarifiers, and then the chorus moves over here. After the chorus we have a bridge, and by then you'll know if this is your song. And if so, we resolve it on Vimeo, the 3rd verse, sometimes the 4th. Okay, let's get started. First line of your song opens with the King of Swords. So this is a good time to say that the artist of this deck, she seems to have used some iconography from the last half century that may be either vaguely or completely familiar to you. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's a bit of a stretch. In any event, your reading opens with the fixed sign of air, sign of Aquarius, King of Swords, somebody who is completely in the energy of being true to one's own code, one's own standards, who lives in the truth and isn't afraid to do so, and holds other people to that as well. All right, Taurus. All right, so the second line of your song, Taurus, is the Knight of Pentacles. This is officially the card of Virgo. It's the mutable sign of Earth. There's a little Taurus. Oh, I said Taurus. So I guess this is you. A little tortoise sleeping next to a big tortoise. A big tortoise. So it looks kind of like a background, but if you look at it closely, you realize it's the shell of an influence or a protector or a greater tortoise, you know. Whether it's actual or metaphorical, it's kind of like the tortoise in the shelter of the tortoise, or the tortoise in the shelter of all tortoises. So slow and steady wins the race is the standard Knight of Pentacles message. But there's a sense of being sheltered. And we're going to clarify lighting issues I haven't completely worked through. Then we have the card of transformation, the card of Scorpio, the Death card. What intrigues me about this card is that these pieces of fruit that are hanging on the vine, encircled with this, there's a moth and there's fruits and there's some like little larvae and stuff like that, but the fruits have been sliced open, like perfectly sliced, like, you know, as something would be depicted in, you know, like a drawing that you're using to study it. You know what I mean? It's a section. It's the name of that type of drawing in like architecture and everything. It's like a section. So it's like they cut right through it. The artist presents what you would see if you could see a flat plane inside it. And yet it's still hanging on the vine. It's like you're witnessing the growth cycles, because this is like a larva, this is a moth, and there's a circle here. you know, things flower before they fruit. It's kind of like a whole life cycle. And then we have the Four of Swords, so the need for rest. And that's represented by another type of internal view, right? It's like the body is x-rayed, and inside you see very much alive and kind of pulpy and pulsating, and actually like flowering the internal organs, the lungs. So it's like Four of Swords, you know, so you can breathe again. There's and you can't really see it, but there's a needle and thread coming down and going into the leaf, one of the leaves. Do you see that? It's like right there. Ah, maybe that's like the truth, you know? Because, so your reading opens with the King of Swords, right? Powerful air energy, full embodiment of control over intellect, communication by means of the truth. And then the Knight of Pentacles, that sort of slow and steady wins the race, but a sense of being sheltered. And then the Transformation card, which depicts an entire life cycle. And then the Four of Swords with that sort of needle, and the thread is red, kind of piercing the truth, or the truth piercing the situation. Something requiring that you focus on like learning to breathe again. Breathe in such a way that you're like completely alive. See that? And then your chorus is the Pilgrim. So the Pilgrim, it's about, you know, pilgrimage, right? It's about traveling or not. It's about like shaking off conventions, journeying both internally and externally. The card itself is a collage of a person. So, you see that? Like the eye is there, there's no head. There are some beads around the neck, big beads, like mala beads. And hands clasped. And then the eye where like the solar plexus chakra. And then a mountain. Mountain is a symbol of like, you know, going after one's dharma, one's vision in this deck. And there's another card called the Vision, which has a mountain in it. There's a card called the Mountain, which is, yeah. So some kind of internal journeying, which results from your like resting and reconsidering how much breathing you're doing. So it could be about like prana, right? Like life energy. Starting to really prioritize that. You know? Outside of yourself in the external world, there's this kind of like that needle and thread coming down, as if the threat of being stitched into the conventions around you and the expectations around you is there, and you kind of like retreat from that truth, the truth of that. You're not retreating from the truth, but the truth that the expectations and conventions, even like, all right, so things that would be examples are like how we respond to our phone notifications, like things like that can sort of like train us into a sleepiness, you know? And you're kind of aware of that here at the end of the first verse. And actually this card, it does talk about that. It talks about like the conventions and the standard way of being, like in the current cultural climate or whatever. It creates a sort of sleepiness that we long, that we're called to not to escape from, but we're called out of it by something more true and more real, right? And so I think that your transition has to do with like really contemplating like your life energy, you know? What is primarily thought of as like the breath, like the life force. And how much more, you know, I don't want to use the same words over and over again, but like fruitful and generative that can be than it actually is. Like kind of examining all of that in this resting state, Taurus, where you're like, what is this that's kind of stitching me into place? Are these things valuable? Are these things worthy of me? Or are these just distractions that kind of bring me like through the mundane from one, you know, stone across the river to another? Have I taken the same path like over and over again? Like, what am I doing with my life energy? It's kind of like a really, it's a big question, and you're feeling called to some kind of pilgrimage. Whether you're going to travel, you've wanted to and you've put it off, now's the time. No, whether it's an actual pilgrimage, whether you just want to like, you know, shut off your phone and read. You know, like whatever it is, like there's something of like deeper meaning calling you with regard to your transformation. And we're going to clarify every line in the song, so we'll know more. But let's go into the second verse. So yeah, in the first line of the second verse, you have this Page of Pentacles. So the white owl in this sort of glowing light of, you know, you see like the sky behind. It's kind of like it's almost like a misty sunset sky with the moon kind of rising. And then he's just about, or she is just about to seize a mouse. So there's this opportunity. There's this, the card, the image is stopped like right in the moment where the two are contemplating each other. Like everybody knows life's about to change. You know, life's going to change way more for the mouse than it is for the owl. But there's something that you're seizing upon, and it's the moment right before you do it. It's the Ace of Pentacles, right? You're right there. And then the second line is the King of Pentacles. It's kind of ringed in sunlight. It feels like he's in a desert, but he's sort of draped in these gorgeous royal robes, and there's a veil over the entire image. So it makes it look like his robes are patterned, but they're really just kind of like this royal purple, and there's a veil of peacock feathers that just like goes over the whole image. So it's the King of Pentacles behind this veil of peacock feathers, right? And so the peacock is about like being the full expression of oneself. So it's almost like, all right, let's say, because you had the Knight of Pentacles earlier, right? So let's say this is a desert, and the Knight of Pentacles is back here, and the King of Pentacles is walking first, and they're both you know. You've had transformation and a rest in between the Knight of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. And so now you're here, and you're on a pilgrimage, and you're just about to bust through this veil. See, there's a veil of peacock feathers. When you bust through, you won't have, it'll just be you in your royal garment, but that patterning would be gone, right? Because it's just a projection of the veil that you can see through the light. And so this is like the true expression of yourself. And you're just about, like, if you keep walking after having seized this opportunity to go on your pilgrimage, whatever that is, you keep walking, you're going to go through that veil. In the third line of your second verse, there you are looking at there's a hole. So this is the Five of Cups. You're looking back, right? Because like you see the light is reflecting on this side after you've already bust through. And now you're looking back. I don't know why you would do that. You left something behind, I guess. But it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, transformation's really challenging, right? Like, and sometimes just the new, even if it's better, it's unfamiliar. So at certain times, like, we look back at what we've lost, even though where we are is far more valuable, right? This is kind of human nature. Like the comfortable, even if it wasn't great. I think that's what that is there. I promise to fix the lighting. I actually promise. And then we have the fourth line of the second verse is the Judgment card. So you are being exonerated. You're like passing some kind of test. And then we move over to, the chorus moves over again to after the second verse, and then we have the bridge, and we have the fox spirit. Think on your feet. And I need to see if this is the same eye. I don't think it is. Let's see if I can see this eye anywhere. Well, the owl has a pretty prominent eye. Yeah. So this is the eye of the owl. See it? It's the same. It's like a really dark, it's a really dark eye. As is this one. So that's like the owl's kind of, like I said, the eye is where the solar plexus chakra would be. So that this is like, so this is the pilgrim, right? So like internal journey and external journey. So from the solar plexus chakra, from the seat of your own power, your own agency, your own like mojo to design your own life, you're looking out, you're seeing from that place, which is wisdom, right? And that's what the white owl is. Wisdom. The first time I ever experienced a white owl, I was selling a house. I really didn't want to sell. But I was so upset about it. And I had never seen a white owl there before, which I had seen so much wildlife there. I mean, so much. And the day, like, on our way to the closing, I did like a final walkthrough, and I was just crying and crying. And across the way on the roof of another house, there was a white owl just sitting there. And I just chose to believe that it was just, you know, because they mean wisdom. So, like, it must be the right thing to do. And so, yeah. This opportunity that you want to seize to live more fully through this pilgrimage. You know, it must be the right thing to do. As you've transformed from this kind of Knight of Pentacles to this King of Pentacles, and you're just about to burst through that veil of the full expression of your gifts. And you know, this human nature to kind of look back, like even when we've like busted through a wall, to look back through the other side. Let me see the view from here. But, you know, the Five of Cups energy is, you know, it's got to be a temporary stay. But you're passing a test ultimately. In your pilgrimage, you're thinking on your feet. All right, Taurus, let's clarify. Let's start with the first line of your song, which is the King of Swords. And it's clarified by the Fool. That's really awesome. Because, like, the King of Swords is incredibly wise. And doesn't have a lot of emotion clouding its judgment. That energy does not get clouded judgment. And the Fool energy is, there's so many ways to see it. The standard is leap of faith, right? The Fool energy, it's about being completely comfortable with the unknown, with the truth of the actual chaos. You know, like, so here in the pilgrimage, you're throwing off the conventions that keep us sleepy. You know? So at the beginning of the reading, you're like, unclouded by emotions, completely willing to live in the truth. You're comfortable beginning again. So completely aware of the unknown, of the fact that it's all unknown. Like, not the naivete of the standard Fool energy. The same childlike attitude toward it, but not naive, just fully embracing the truth of the unknown with wisdom. She's got an amethyst. She's got an amethyst crystal. She's got a staff, so like a walking stick or a staff. There's so many ways to interpret the staff. You know, one thing is that wherever you go, you plant a staff. That becomes like the center of your sacred space. Wherever you go, you just plant a staff and that becomes your home. You can also use it like on pilgrimage. It would be used as a walking stick. A staff is used for like manifestation, creating magic. So, you know, the amethyst and the staff, and her eyes are closed. So this is a beautiful energy to begin something. From there, the Knight of Pentacles is clarified by the Wheel of Fortune, and I'm laughing because we saw this card as sheltered, and I think that just naturally, as a matter of course, Taurus, you're moving out. Little Taurus is moving out of the shelter, you know, out of the state of being sheltered, because that's what you're ultimately rejecting in the Pilgrim. Because you're finding being sheltered as being like stitched in, you know, sewn in to life by these like conventions and distractions. So the wheel is turning, and whatever this greater binding shelter is, I see that you're moving out of its illusion of protection. It's an illusion of protection for you. That's what you're recognizing it as. And the wheel is turning into your transformation, which is clarified by the Emperor, card of Aries. So these two energies together, like transforming life cycle and just being completely bossed up with like all the king, the embodiment of all the king energies you carry with you, right? The Emperor has mastered all of the lessons of Pentacles, all of the lessons of Swords, all of the lessons of Cups, all of the lessons of Wands. And then your Four of Swords is clarified by the Empress. So beautiful. Because they're side by side, see? They're side by side in the clarification row. So the Death card with the Emperor, the Four of Swords, the Rest with the Empress. So you have sort of great energy establishing your first verse. And then from there, the Pilgrim. In your second verse, so this Ace of Pentacles, it's the Ace, it's not the page, it's the Ace of Pentacles, opportunity, is clarified by that Four of Swords, which is interesting, right? It's like the Four of Swords is, and then the chorus, and then the Page of Pentacles, clarified by the Four of Swords. So the rest that you're inclined to take, the breathing you're inclined to do, Like, look at her. She's just like, she's curled up, kind of dreaming in a nest of her own making. She's got her heart right there with her. It's sewn up, and she's sleeping soundly. So, you know, I think the rest and the opportunity are related. And it might say something about, like, if you really are going on a pilgrimage for real, like you might want to be comfortable sleeping kind of in an unorthodox, you know, nests of your own making. Tree houses and stuff. And then your King of Pentacles, where you're just about to kind of like bust through that veil and get into a greater like expression of your gifts, is clarified by the Knight of Cups. So this is the card of Pisces, and this is the card of Taurus. This is your card. Those are your robes. It's your journey. You're in the desert, the same desert where there's some kind of emotional offer. It's like you could be coming upon it, see, as you're walking. That's what you see, right? This is just like a Knight of Cups sitting on a little stool in this same landscape. And then you bust through and you look back through, but, you know, here you are again, Taurus. The King of Pentacles, sort of in your new environment, in your new landscape. And it's from this place, this kind of new comfortable perch with your like loyal friend there. I don't know who or what that is for you. That you can kind of look back through the wall of what you've, you know, the wall you've pierced. But between the first and second verse, you create completely new conditions for yourself as a result of this. As a result of being the pilgrim. As a result of the pilgrimage. And then you pass some kind of test. And you have like this sense of like being loved and belonging. And it's there that we end the second verse. Of course, we move over into the chorus and bridge before going on to the third verse, which is, you know, leaving the conventions behind for something more deeply meaningful internally and externally, and thinking on your feet. So, by now, I hope you know if this is your song, and we're going to go over to Vimeo and finish it in that third verse and see if maybe we need a fourth. And yeah, it's been a pleasure reading for you. Bye, Taurus.